Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate and today I'm excited to be making a holiday gift guide full of educational toys for kids ages like 2 to 8, but even outside of that age range you could adapt some of these ideas. And for those of you who are new, I have my master's in educational technology design and I'm going to be using this channel to make videos about how you can support your children's learning at home. I've split these ideas into a few different categories. They kind of bleed over into one another, but I'll have those timestamped down below if you want to jump around. And with that said, let's dive in. So to start off, I wanted to just talk really briefly about what I was looking for when I was putting this list of toys together. To clarify, I don't think every toy a child has needs to be educational by any means. Just the act of playing and interacting with others and using their imagination is so important for children, and that supports, development in and of itself. But I found so many great toys that are educational that I wanted to put them all together in one place if you are looking for some gift ideas for your kids that are going to really support their learning. So the first thing that I think is great are toys that are really open-ended and support that open-ended creative play. That's going to keep your kids engaged, it stimulates imagination and independence and so many other great benefits. So things that are open-ended and allow for really creative use I think are wonderful. I also think it's important to look for gifts that are going to be developmentally appropriate to your child. When kids are young, they're developing so quickly. What works for even a 4-year-old might not work as well for a 5-year-old. So if you're buying for your own child, you definitely know your kid best, and you can buy something that just pushes them maybe a little bit past where they are right now so that they can grow into it and learn as they're using it. There are also so many companies right now that are really focused on making developmentally appropriate toys for certain age groups, so I'll be touching on some of those as I get into the gifts. I think toys that have a kind of sensory component are also great, especially for younger kids. That's going to support things like motor skill development, problem solving, and language development, so those are great. And then finally, my last tip would just be to keep it simple. Look for toys that are a little bit simpler and maybe don't have the flashy lights and sounds and that kind of thing. Those things can actually overstimulate, especially for young children, and take away from some of the learning that might otherwise be happening. So when in doubt, it's great to keep it simple, and kids can use their imaginations and really make the most of even really simple toys. So with all of that said, I'm now going to dive into the list of gifts that I've put together, and my first category is puzzles. Puzzles, matching games, these are all great for supporting cognitive skills, and they range so much in complexity, they can really be great for any age at all. So for 1 to 2-year-olds, it could be something really simple like a wooden puzzle that starts to help their fine motor development, their spatial awareness, their knowledge of shapes. I found a really cool one from Masonette that I love because it's an animal puzzle, but each of the animals also has a different texture. So for young kids, that can be a really nice sensory experience as well. I've also seen some cool alphabet wooden puzzles or even custom name wooden puzzles sold on Etsy that you could get customized for your child. I would also put something like the 3-dimensional shape sorting cubes into this category. Those can be great for younger kids. And then as kids get older, you can get into simpler jigsaw puzzles, more complicated jigsaw puzzles, and those can be fun and engaging really for any age. Then my next category I have is kind of open-ended materials and things for creating. A great one that I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with are magnetiles, but I did want to mention them. They're recommended for ages 3 and up, but I think kids even younger could use them with close adult supervision, and they can be a little bit pricier, but one of the reasons I really love magnetiles is because it's such a great example of a toy that's really going to grow with your child. For younger children, it can be about learning shapes and just kind of stacking them and creating really simple designs. And then as your kids get older, it can get more into making complex patterns, working on building 3-dimensional shapes and geometric objects, and working on math skills. So something like this that's really open-ended but allows your child to have a lot of freedom and creativity in how they're putting things together is wonderful, and I think it can last families many years. So it can be a good investment if you think it's something your child would be interested in. Also in kind of a similar vein would just be blocks. Blocks can be really simple, the simpler the better for younger kids really, and they can learn to make different shapes and just use their imagination. For older kids, if they're interested in building more complicated objects, you can get into things like Connects or Lincoln Logs or Legos. And those are great because a lot of those things come in sets that can be geared towards different ages, so depending on your child's age you can go for more or less complex kind of sets. And then they can either build kind of what is in the instructions, or they can go with their imagination and build their own things. And then other kinds of materials that could be used for creating and expressing creativity, things like paint sets or just art sets for kids, or other materials like clay or Play-Doh. I've seen some sets that have, Play-Doh and then some tools and textures that they can experiment using. I think those are great and really open-ended and can just get your kids creating things. My next category would be toys that support pretend play, and this can vary so much, and you can kind of cater it to what your child is interested in and the types of toys that you see them interested in, but pretend play is so important for younger kids especially in helping them think through things, helping them learn to use vocabulary to express their ideas and carry out scenes, and it's really one way that they understand the world around them and process that. It could be things like dolls or animal figurines or cars, anything that they're interested in and they can kind of act out scenes with. Also things that imitate adult activities, that can be one way that they actually kind of understand what they're seeing. So things like kitchen sets, or maybe like a construction worker costume or other types of dress-up clothes. Of course, kids don't necessarily need all of those things just to be able to play, but they can be nice and fun for kind of supporting that creativity and that imaginative play. Alright, next I found some really cool kind of STEM related toys and getting a little bit more into like the digital realm. So some of these are a little bit more geared towards kids at the older end of that age range, like 6 to 8, but some of them definitely work for kids younger than that too. So the first one that I wanted to talk about is Osmo. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Osmo, but I think it's such a cool product. You basically use your tablet and connect that to a little sensor, so your kids can use actual tangible physical pieces in front of the tablet, and games and animations and stuff happen on the tablet itself. So they're not actually playing the game touching the screen, they're touching these tangible pieces in front of them. They make all different kinds of kits. They're kind of geared towards kids from ages like 3 to 9 or 10, maybe even a little bit older than that for some of them. And they teach all different kinds of skills. So for the younger kind of preschool aged kids, they're teaching things like numbers and letters and shapes, and they get more complicated into like coding, math, and other kinds of things for the older kids. I love this because there is that tangible component, and you'll notice with the toys I list after this, I think it's really important for learning to actually have that tangible component even when you're interacting with something digital, and I think Osmo does a great job of that. And they make a lot of different packages for different learning objectives and for different ages. I also love that this is something that kids can do together or that families can engage in together, because when you're playing games together, that gives so much more potential for social learning and for learning in general to take place. So I think that is a great one. It is a little bit of an investment, as are some of the other ones I'm going to mention. Another one that can really be used for years and years and continue to adapt with your child as they get older. Another really cool company I found is called MakeBlock, and they are all about teaching coding skills, but also with that tangible and hardware component. So they're another one that has different products for different age groups. They have this product called, I think, M-Tiny Robot, that's for kind of younger preschool age kids around age 4, and that's like a tangible screen-free toy that starts to give an introduction to coding skills and logical thinking, and it also targets learning in other areas like English and math. The same company also makes more complicated robotics kits for older kids, where you can put together this robot in different ways and program it to do what you want it to do. So I love that because it's open-ended, you can be creative with it, and it also involves a hands-on component as you're learning these kind of coding-related skills. Next, a kind of similar one to that is called the Wonder Workshop Dash Robot. This is another robot. It's aimed at kids ages 6 and up, and this one doesn't require assembly the way some of the more complicated MakeBlock robots do. So if you know that you have a child who is more interested in the building piece, you might prefer the MakeBlock robots. But if not, this is a great one. It's ready to go straight out of the box, and you can code it to do different things. There are also a lot of cool accessory and extension packs for this one, so you can continue adding to it and make it do all kinds of different things. One of the accessories is actually a xylophone, which I love because it lets kids get an introduction to coding through music. And I like any kind of overlap between coding and music and art because I think there is so much overlap there that can get kids really interested in it, but it's not taken advantage of enough. There are also building brick extensions for this that you can use to, add Legos to your robot and really customize it and make it a much more open-ended and creative experience as well. This robot also comes coupled with a bunch of different apps that are geared towards different age groups. So it's another one where if you have a child who's a little bit younger and a child who's a little bit older, they could use it with apps that are very geared towards their age to customize it for them. And then also to help that kind of grow with them as they get older too. Finally, my last one in this kind of hardware and coding section is the Piper Kit. And the Piper Kit is recommended for children 8 and up, so it's a little bit on the older side of what I'm talking about, but it essentially lets kids build their own computer and then code their own games on it. So this is another one that combines the tangible with the coding skills, and then I also love it because we're living in such a computer-filled world that I just think it's cool to give your kids the opportunity to see what really goes into a computer and what a computer is like on the inside. Another one that I love is snap circuits. I remember I actually had these when I was a kid and I loved them. I think these are great because they're really open-ended. You can arrange them in all different kinds of ways and experiment and make your own designs. And again, it's a very tangible, hands-on kind of STEM-related toy. And then in the STEM realm, but for younger kids, I've seen some great kids microscopes online, and I think that could be a really cool idea for a younger child who likes to observe the world around them and is maybe curious about things around them. Say if your child was interested in nature, you could go outside and collect things and bring them back and take a look at them under the microscope, and it's just a great way of supporting curiosity and observation of the world around you. So that is it for my STEM section. Finally, the last category that I have are subscription boxes. I did just want to mention a couple of the great subscription boxes for kids I've seen out there because I think those can be a great gift idea. A lot of these too, you can buy one box at a time. You don't necessarily have to buy like a long-term subscription. So one of these that I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about as well are the KiwiCo boxes. They do boxes for a whole range of ages from like 0 to 14, possibly even older. And I think they do a really great job of picking developmentally appropriate toys and activities for each of those boxes. From what I've read about them, also they're super research-backed, and I really trust their judgment when it comes to what they put in each of these boxes. Another great one for younger kids is Lovevery. So they do boxes for ages 0 to 3, and they're much more like specific even within those ages of the exact kind of number of months that they send you a particular box. So with them, again, I think you're getting something really developmentally appropriate and well targeted towards your child's age. And finally, a cool idea that I saw for subscription box and I wanted to mention are these like kids cooking subscription boxes. So I've seen a bunch, and I'm gonna link a list of them down below so you can take a look, just based on the kind of food that your family or your child likes to eat. But there's a lot of really cool ones, and I think that can be a great activity for parents and children to do together. There are also a lot of just practical life and even like math skills that can be learned and taught when you're cooking together. So I think those are really cool too if you have a child that's maybe expressed interest in what you're doing in the kitchen. Finally, this didn't really fit into any of my other categories, but I did want to mention that I think books are a great gift for all ages of kids as well. I think it can be great to just choose books that are aligned with the interests of the child that you're buying for. So if your child is really interested in nature, you could get books about nature and animals and that kind of thing. Anything that they're already interested in, they're going to be really excited to sit down and read that book with you. And that's a great way to support literacy development in younger kids. So that is it for the end of my gift guide. I hope this was helpful for you and gave you some ideas for what you can get your kids for the holidays this year. If it was helpful, I'd love it if you would give me a like, and I'll be making more videos like this about educational toys and technologies for kids. And if that seems like something that's interesting to you, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.